Jamie, I always like to start these conversations with really deep, meaningful questions. So we'll start there.
Okay.
So if you could have one superpower, but it was a secret superpower, nobody could ever find out about it, what would that superpower be?
Well, I've always loved to fly.
Okay.
I don't know why. Just the idea of flying high above everything else, like seeing the landscape, being able to, or maybe see the future.
Yeah.
If you can combine that, flying and see the
Fly-
future kind of a thing.
Well, yeah, okay. All right.
Sometimes I feel like you get so bogged down in the day to day. If you rise above all that and see the bigger picture, if I could fly and see the future, that would be a really cool superpower.
That would be a cool superpower.
Yeah.
Mine's always, I always feel like I'm running out of time. You know what I mean? Like so many people that work jobs, they like loathe Monday. And, it's Monday.
Mm-hmm.
But I love Monday. It's like the best day of the week because it's like a clean canvas, right? I can paint this week however I want it. But then on Friday, I'm like, it's Friday. I'm running out of time. So mine's always speed. Like more, I can do more things, you know what I mean? And say or do things quicker or whatever. Okay, so one more. If there was a sitcom about your business, what would the theme song be?
Oh, wow.
That's a tough one.
It is. DJ, I might have to pull him in for that.
DJ, she's using the phone a friend.
Yeah, can I phone a friend?
Absolutely.
Wow, that's a hard one. Sitcom, where are you?
He disappeared.
Question, if there was a sitcom about our business, what would the theme song be?
What?
What about Lovern and Shirley?
Yeah.
What was that one?
Theme?
Moving on up, maybe.
Oh, that's a good one. The Jeffersons. Moving on up.
Yeah.
Well, garage to
True.
First place. Now to here.
Sons, but I couldn't remember the tune to that.
It's a good one.
But yeah, moving on up.
I think I would choose the theme from the Golden Girls, but that might just be because I love the Golden Girls. It's a great show.
Definitely inspirational song.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Right,
that was a tough
Thanks,
one.
DJ.
Tough.
All right, so you first tell me, what year did you start the business, and why did you choose to start your business?
Okay, so the year was 2003.
Okay.
And the reason why I started, and I never had any intention of even starting a company or a business, but we were burning candles, and that was kind of my zen time at home from a stressful job. I was always under deadlines, and I loved to cook, create, and I would burn candles. It was just kind of my thing to chill at the end of the day. And DJ, my husband, of course, had noticed about the soot that these candles were putting off, and he's a researcher, so he dove into the research. What are these candles made of? Come to find out, they're made from 11 known toxins, and 2 are carcinogenic. So there we are, breathing this in at night to chill. And as soon as I learned that, I was so bummed. I was like, I can't burn candles anymore. Like, it's my thing. I love them. I love the smell, the ambiance, the whole thing. And he was the one that found about soy wax. And he said, wow, they're making candles out of soy wax nowadays. And back then, you got to remember, 2003, no one knew about soy at all.
Yeah.
And you could order a kit. And I thought, why not? I just did it for myself.
So it's just for you.
Just for me. I wanted to see what it was about. And I started making candles just for myself, and they were cool. And I started giving them as gifts. I would actually go to Goodwill and grab cool vintage glass, the cool 70s goblets.
Yeah.
They're like that amber color or green. And I would make these cool candles, and I would give them as gifts and tell people they're eco-friendly. They're good for your health. They're not going to damage the air ducts in your home. And that's how it started. I just started giving them as gifts, and people said, oh my gosh, could you give me 10 more? Could you? And I really couldn't find enough cool vintage glass.
Really?
And that's when I thought I could turn this into a business. I could do the packaging and the marketing. That's my background. And I just had this light bulb kind of went off.
Yeah.
And actually, it was somebody in our art department, one of the web designers said, you need to go talk to my accountant. And really, it's funny how people around you will say things that just, I look back on it now, and those were those stepping stones that got me to where I am. I don't know if I would have done it on my own.
Wow.
But yeah, and I went to talk to the accountant, and the accountant said, when are you quitting your job? And I looked at her like, what? Are you crazy? And that was how it all started.
What are you quitting your job? Yeah. So I guess that leads me on the next question. When did you quit the job?
So I resigned. Actually, it was the birth of my son.
Okay.
And I always call him my lucky charm because, my career, I was, I was vetted. It was the New York Times.
Mm-hmm.
I was vetted. I had stock options. I had, insurance, and I had a great career. And how do you
security
and leave that?
Right.
And we had just built a house here in Northport. I was having a baby.
Yeah.
But being home with him was just such a important thing to both of us. And I think that was my strength in being able to jump from that ship and just say, hey, I'll do whatever it takes to make this work because I want to be home with my son. I was 35 when I had him too. So I did put in years in my career.
Yeah.
So I left in 2005 after I had him.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So about 2 years after you started this journey.
Yep.
Got you. Wow. Okay. And yeah, I get the motivation. There's no coincidence that Gento was founded in 2011 and my daughter was born in 2011. Like there's something about that extra motivation, you know what I mean? That pushes you along. And, certainly when I started my business, it was just for me, just how can I make some dinner? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It wasn't a business probably for me until like 6 months, maybe even longer. It was like, hey, I got something. Mm-hmm. That light bulb moment you talked about, like, hey, I got something here. I could make a run of this, The audacity, though. The audacity of us to think about betting on ourselves and leaving the security of a corporate job or just, any type of employment. Because as you know, if you're going to do it, you gotta dedicate the time, right? Mm-hmm. Talk to me about 2005, that first month after you quit the job, you resigned. Now you're betting on your chips are on the table, right? What's that first month like?
Oh wow! Looking back, so much still uncertainty because I spent 12 years. Yeah. In my career, so how do you jump from being told what to do or here's your workload for the week to okay, now I'm in charge of everything. I remember I had a hard time with maybe that's ADHD stuff. I had a hard time like figuring out what to do and when to do it. Okay. And I started making lists. I remember that. I started giving myself a daily list on what I needed to do to move myself forward. Okay. And then I had a baby. So I was still nap time and feeding and changing diapers.
Full-time work.
In the middle of all that at home. Yeah. So it was definitely being committed, dedicated, and having a schedule of things to get done in that day. I do remember, though, it was very hard for me to make that shift from employee to now I'm running the show. How do I do that?
The operator.
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Like and then figuring it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those lists that you made, what was it? Excuse me. We talked about we stopped for a snack and I drank a soda and I was like, I don't think I thought that through very well. That evolution from an employee to the operator, right? Like you're the one executing now. Yep. So you got to figure out what to execute on and then you got to execute it. That's a huge evolution. And then, I know you have employees now, right? So operator to manager, leader. Right. That's a whole nother evolution that you've had to go through as well. So we'll touch on that as well. Going back to when you started. So you started in your garage, is that right?
That is right. Well, technically, really, the idea started, we were in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Oh my goodness.
Before we moved down smaller. Here. Okay. But I really, was dabbling. Yep. And then we moved it into the garage. Okay.
Tell me about like, okay, garage. I'm picturing like a hot Florida summer.
Yes.
Like, so AC is sparing in a garage, right? Maybe it comes a little bit out there, maybe not. So a lot of fans, I guess, right?
Yeah, we installed fans. We had a 2-car garage. We installed screens
Okay.
on the side door and the front door. Let me think what else. We put in a 220 outlet when we built the house.
Yeah.
To be able to have a stove out there to work. And yeah, I just kind of went for it. You look back and it's like I really didn't have a plan at all. It was just, okay, I need to work out there. Let's make this work. I had no tables. My husband actually built most of our work tables out of the construction wood that was left over from the housing boom, because back then in 2004, it was booming here.
Oh, yeah.
They were, and so there was loads of scrap. And he would go and he would build all my work tables. So we
making it work.
We made so much, and we had no money. I mean, I had no money. Remember, I just left my career behind.
Just left the career, baby.
Yeah.
A funny part to the garage with the heat.
Yeah.
Something I did. The air handlers, usually in your garage, drill holes in the air handler so that air would leak out of there, so she could have AC.
So if it was raining, we had to shut everything up.
It wasn't the best.
It's probably not long term the best idea, but like it got the job done.
Magnet, just slap over it so that it wouldn't leak.
So now it's sealed, right?
Yeah.
Worked.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
We did a lot of things just to make it work.
Yeah.
It wasn't glamorous, and it wasn't.
No, it never is.
But we did what we had to do to make it work.
You know what? Nobody talks about how that it's not glamorous, because like if you get on social media and you see entrepreneurs, which like. Okay, do you remember, like, I feel like in the 90s and early 2000s, I feel like the term entrepreneurial was like that means you're unemployed. Like, I remember this coming out of high school. I remember this negative connotation to the word entrepreneur, but now it's like cool, right? And so you open up social media, you see entrepreneurs and they're on like private jets and sports cars and this stuff. And it's like, no, man, like show the behind the scenes stuff, like, because it's not glamorous. Like,
no,
it's a lot of alone time. It's a lot of, 80-hour weeks, right? And just like we talked about earlier, like work until your eyeballs bleed, type of stuff. But I think it has to happen that way. I don't think you can get it done, working part time or anything like that. Or
the loneliness in the beginning. Yeah, I do remember that. That reminded me. I remember, I'm in the garage. I've got a baby. Yeah. So and I'm by myself, and I remember. In the afternoons is when I would jump on the computer. He would be napping and I would start. And back then we only had MySpace.
Yeah, no Facebook, that's right.
Instagram,
no Facebook, yeah.
But MySpace. And I would sit down in the afternoons, and that was my only interaction with like other humans, like adults, I should say. Right.
Yeah.
And I remember, doing as much as I could on social, reaching out to anybody from our business profile on MySpace. Yeah. And that was my only outlet to talk to humans really. I remember that being very isolated and lonely, and I do remember.
I miss MySpace. I loved MySpace. Do you remember what your theme song was on MySpace?
I was going to say you could put music to it. I don't
remember mine. But I remember you could choose whatever song you wanted. It was great. I miss it. Tom was so good to us. Come on, he didn't steal our information or none of that. So Tom was wherever you're at now, Tom. Shouts out to Tom. I don't even know his last name. Okay. So fast forward a couple of years, business is starting to grow. Yep. And you move out of the garage into a warehouse, right?
Mm-hmm. Warehouse space. So we started in farmers markets.
Okay.
I bought a trailer off a friend. We towed this trailer to markets for 4 years.
Okay.
And then that's how we grew. And then we got to the point where it was taking over the house.
Yeah.
We needed to figure it out. Either I shut this down or I need to move to space. But I was still at that point of like, how am I going to pay overhead and all these things? Like I'm doing good now, but how do you do that?
Right.
I don't think I've learned that every time you expand, you're never really financially ready for it. You just gotta jump and it'll come.
The need is there.
You gotta just have that
the need
faith.
is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we just jumped.
Talk to me about that faith. Like that faith. Okay. To go from, because at home at least there's at least some security, like in terms of controlling your overhead and things like that when you sign a lease and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
scary.
Now it's scary. Did you ever have a moment where you thought, what am I doing?
Yeah, I think we always have those moments,
Yeah,
but
I did.
not enough to stop me.
Okay.
I still felt like it was a challenge and it was exciting. It was an exciting part of it, even though what am I doing?
Yeah, but the
I'm gonna
excitement,
jump.
it was way more than the scare.
Yeah.
Right?
You always have that excitement.
I feel
and
like
challenge.
and I don't know that ever goes away, right? Like you've been in business a little bit longer than I have, but anytime that there's like a major, especially financial decision, it's like, okay, it's a little scary, even though it's the right thing to do or the need is there and you know you're going to be okay. There's still that little, with any risk, I think that there's that scare. I don't know that it's ever going to go away. I mean, I'm more comfortable with it now, as I'm sure you are.
Used to that feeling.
Yeah.
It's like a feeling. It's scary, but you got to take it.
Right.
Or you'll be stuck.
You'll be stuck here. Right. What's the alternative? Like I stay where I'm at and I don't progress. Yeah.
When we took on the third unit here, I remember that like when we first came in, my rent was tripling when I moved to this location. So that was kind of scary. And then the world closed.
That's right. So what year did you move in here?
2020.
Oh, yeah.
The week the world closed. We were in the middle of moving and everything happened.
Shut down. Goodness.
But I think all the years prior of going through the real estate recession and it just prepped us to just show. So I wanted to have some part of me in it, but not me, if that makes sense.
Sure,
like I don't want my name on it, but I want this other. So Lola came from just being a fan of Barry Manilow.
Nice.
And then Blue came from our planet is called the Blue Planet.
That's right.
And everything that we did within, and we still do, within the company is about respecting Mother Earth.
Okay.
I think a lot of my creations are divinely led, and a lot of times it comes from nature. I'm out on a run. I don't know. Things come to me.
Okay.
I'm real connected to nature. And so Blue just had this ring to it, I thought it was cool. And then I put the two together.
I love it. And
then this is really cool. I had a customer tell me that Lola stands for love one, love all.
Oh, come on.
And she goes, that's you, because as the company grew, I incorporated a lot of my affirmations, my positive sayings that were a part of my healing journey. I'm a trauma survivor.
Okay.
So part of our brand, if you look on some of our containers, we put little sayings on them. So this one actually says life is better barefoot. But some of them say things, about self-care. Self-care is how we take our power back.
Yeah.
And I wanted to put these sayings on some of our products because when I was going through a really hard time, my mom actually would send me little sayings and they would change the way I felt that day, bring me out of my depression or my anxiety. And I thought, how powerful is that? I want to give that to other people. So if somebody picks up our product and they read that and they're having a bad day,
it could be what brightens their day.
That could change everything for them.
It's powerful.
So that's part of our brand, the hidden part of self-care.
Yeah.
And then the love one, love all.
That's just icing on the icing on the cake.
So
I love that it came out of a nickname. That's pretty cool. I'm fascinated by where businesses today can kind of, you can name a business anything you want, but like, what, 30 years? When was the Yellow Pages? Was that 20 years ago? 30 years ago? Yellow Pages was like a big thing?
30 probably.
Probably 30, yeah. Do you remember like AAA businesses?
So
you had a name, like, you're hamstrung by like where you're going to be found in the phone books. So like you AAA electricians or AAA soap or whatever. You were like hamstrung by this idea. And then, and then Google comes along and changes that to, like Great China Buffet, Great China Restaurant, right? Like, because I want to rank well or whatever. But now it doesn't really matter. You can name it. I mean, look at us, like a
in Bath and Beauty, and then people would, okay, I get who
now
you are.
Now it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, indulge yourself.
I don't know if it really hurt me in the beginning.
I think knowing, like, just even talking to you for a few minutes, like, indulge yourself, respect Mother Earth makes complete sense. It totally makes sense, and I'm totally brought into the brand, but I've spent a couple minutes with you, right? So somebody that doesn't or hasn't spent that time with you, yeah, the artisan makes more sense.
Yeah.
Outside looking in, right? Like, but once they're here, yeah, I'd find a way to keep using it somewhere. You know, maybe not the public tagline, but I love the way it sounds. Indulge yourself, respect Mother Earth.
Yeah,
that's good.
You just got old T-shirts that still
Really?
that still say it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Are we set? Okay. All right, so we're already rolling. We're on wax. Good. Good, because that was a really good. Let's find a way to use that. All right, so you've been in business now since technically 03, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just past 20 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's really cool.
It's crazy.
In 20 years, lots of obstacles you've had to overcome, right? COVID, all kinds of stuff. But is there a major obstacle that you had to overcome? You had to figure it out, right? That you can look back on with pride that you can share with me?
There's been so many.
Yeah.
I think COVID.
Yeah,
to be
was
honest,
it COVID?
Was tough.
Yeah.
We were moving here into this space. The world closed.
Yeah.
We couldn't get plumbers here to hook up our sink. And that is when I actually got the email from Whole Foods.
Okay.
So now this was my dream account.
Yeah.
And to have it happen, the world's closing.
Yeah.
It's like that moment of like, but how am I going to make this work? I can't even function because the world's closed.
Right.
And at the time, what they wanted us to be, we had to change everything on how we made soap. From the batch size to the molds to our processing, everything had to change very quickly.
Okay.
With the world closed.
Yeah.
With no resources.
No way to do it.
So my husband and I, we just, it's funny how you look back on it and like, we just went to work.
Yeah.
We didn't even think about how we were going to do it. And it was a tough time. And we were working, you talk about working until your eyes bleed.
Yeah.
We were almost sleeping here just to get it done. And I remember because everything was deserted. You know, you drove, there was nobody on the road.
On the road. Yeah.
But we were so focused on getting this place up and running, getting what Whole Foods needed to launch with them, that we kind of shut the whole world out. I wasn't watching the news. I wasn't watching what was going on. We just focused.
Yeah.
And we put in so much time and effort. And it was really tough. Like when I look back on that.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of what we did. I look
bet.
back like all the things that we had to figure out.
Mm-hmm. And if you hadn't figured them out, yeah, like one thing.
Yeah, just
taken
it was really difficult. And my husband, he's even though I'm sometimes the one that always gets interviewed and things, but
right.
like together, what we did during that time was just phenomenal.
Yeah,
and I'm really proud.
That's
of
awesome.
what we did. It
yeah,
was, wow. We're crazy.
Now,
you
gotta have a little.
Too.
You gotta have a little bit of craziness in you, a little bit of stubbornness, like we were talking about earlier. Yeah, for sure. And now you're, just like going through the stuff you went through in the early years, right? Prepared you for COVID. Now, whenever something happens, that you'll be prepared for it because you've already, you and I have talked about that. Like, COVID was equally scary in my industry, horrible for the world, but what came out of it, obviously, for agencies like mine, was people needing to communicate with their audience from a digital standpoint. Hey, that's what we do. So it kind of worked out, right, for us. But yeah, I remember that first week. I remember shutting down, and we shut down on like a Monday, I think. Yeah, I think a Monday, and the very next day, I had a longtime client call like, "Hey, we're gonna pinch our pennies. We're gonna hold off on everything." Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Okay, how many more are gonna call and say the same?" It was terrifying, but I'd kind of already been through terrifying things in the past, so I was kind of ready for it. Like, all right, well, this is a challenge and this is scary, but we've already proven to ourselves that we can overcome this. So we'll figure it out.
So did you pivot? Did you have to pivot did you do something that?
No pivot. No. The only thing that changed, that was a drastic change, was, people did not come to the office. Everything was by Zoom, which, to be honest, was something I kind of wanted anyway, right? Like, hey, Zoom is just so much easier to talk to a potential client or a new client or existing client via Zoom. Like, hey, stay in your office, I'll stay in mine. We're good. That was the only thing that really changed. I didn't have to pivot. I know a lot of businesses, they were forced to pivot, and some were able to do that, thankfully. But no, we didn't have to pivot at all. And in fact, after that first week, the phone just wouldn't stop ringing. Like, how am I going to reach my audience now? If the construction company that advertises on billboards or and nobody's on the road or on bus benches, and they needed a way to reach their audience, and it was us. So fortunate.
And everybody was at home. So where were they going? To social media,
right?
Going to virtual.
Oh my gosh.
So
the statistics of people.
I think that would have brought you a lot of business.
It brought us a ton of business, and like the statistics for like social consumption during that time were just unbelievable. The amount of hours that people were spending on social. But what else were we gonna do?
Yep.
Like, sit at home. But I feel you about I went into the office every day, just by myself. I'm that guy. I gotta go in, right? So.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So now, 20 years down the road, right? You've had to evolve from employee to operator, and now operator to leader, right? You and DJ. What's that evolution been like? Has it been a learning experience, or how's that been going?
Yes. The leadership side of it. I do a lot of diving into a lot of Audible books about leadership.
Me too.
I'm connected to another business that I'm a part of that has a lot of leadership, and I've learned so much from them.
Okay.
And yes, I definitely have had to, I don't know what that is, shift from being the one-woman show and doing it all and handing that off and trusting that other people to do the work just as good as you would. That's been a process. And I have really learned how to interview now. I was not a good interviewer in the beginning.
Okay.
That is something that, and you learn.
Yeah. Trial and error, or you picked it up in a book, or what?
Trial and error.
Yeah.
I think, I've learned also in leadership, I'm not good at making decisions when I'm stressed and I'm overwhelmed and things have to happen right now. I used to be like, okay, let's just make that decision. Let's go. I got to get this done. And I've learned that is the worst. That is not good for me.
You got to take your time.
Take that time. Let it sit. There's no rush.
It's different than our nature though, right? Because when you're an entrepreneur, you make things happen. So I feel that. And
I learned the hard way in hiring when they weren't good fits.
Yeah.
And I think that took a little bit of diving into the internal part of me, maybe my issues. I think I'm a recovering people pleaser as well.
Okay.
That too.
Yeah.
I've had to learn to say no.
Recovering people pleaser. That's well said.
Yes, I definitely am that.
Yeah.
And and I have learned now, and when I interview differently now, and from a few I should say mistakes, learning lessons along the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mistakes,
and now I have an amazing team. I've definitely had to make some changes in my interview. I've learned.
Yeah.
That was something I was not good at.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you make those mistakes or whatever you want, learning opportunities, you look at them that way as opportunities. You're sharpening the tool, right? You're sharpening the blade and getting better each interview to the next. And same with leading, right? Like I've said on this show before, like my first employee, shouts out Julie. My first employee, like she was a web developer and I hovered, like she was trained. She knew she came in trained. She already knew how to code and like, why'd you build it like that? No, do it like this. No, do it my way. No, so I learned by that mistake. I've made mistakes with that. And I've learned over the years that when leading, like you're serving them as much as they're coming to work and they're serving the brand, right? Like we're serving them. I want to make sure that they're fulfilled. They enjoy work because nobody's going to love it as much. Nobody's going to love it as much as we do, right? Like, nobody's going to love the brand as much as you do. It's your baby. But if they enjoy coming to work, if they're fulfilled and they're using their skills and their talents, hey, now they want to come to work.
Yeah.
Now they want to do good, right? So, and they're growing. They're getting better.
And I've learned that along the way too with employees, learning what they like to do. Where are their strengths?
Yeah.
And then putting them in that.
Yeah.
And I've learned being open to learning. Sometimes my employees will say, hey, this works better that way. I didn't see that. I was too close to it.
But so many leaders are hesitant to take that feedback. It's their way or the highway, right?
Right.
When you open yourself up to that feedback, now, just like you said, I would have never known that.
Yep.
Well, you listen, and now now you're sharpening that blade. Love it. Okay, last one. If somebody was starting their business, they were at a corporate career, and they decided they're going to bank on themselves, or they're thinking that they should bank on themselves, what's the one piece of advice you would give to them?
I would say believe in yourself.
Okay.
Empower yourself, and mindset. I think, and dive into every self-development book you can find.
Okay. Keep learning.
Yeah. Just empowering, believing in yourself, and having resilience. I think as an entrepreneur, you just have to, it's just that belief in what you're doing, because it's going to be tough. It's going to be real tough, especially when, you've got high bills coming in, or you're working and you're not seeing that light at the end of the tunnel. Cause I think we've all been there, and having that strength to keep going.
I love it.
Yeah. And don't let other people's opinions sway you.
No,
that's a tough one.
That's a big one.
And no matter who it is, because it can be people really close to you.
Yeah, it can be.
They don't see your vision.
No, they don't see it the way that you see it. And it, like you said, it could be somebody close. It could be a parent. It could be children. It could be, siblings or just colleagues. But yeah, it can be somebody close to you. Absolutely.
And if you don't come from an entrepreneurial family, you come from a family who, say they came out of high school and they worked a job and they worked until they retired. That's wonderful, but the world isn't that way anymore.
No.
So
no.
I think having that confidence in yourself and that vision, trust your vision, trust your gut, and just go for it.
It's the best job in the world, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jamie, thanks so much for having us today.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate you. DJ, thank you for having us. Cut. Good stuff. This is great.
All right. Okay.
Killed it. Did a great job.